which is why I say drug use is higher, crime is higher, and on top of that, with the amount of if you look at abortion clinics, they're typically higher within poor income areas, and I think that also plays a role in why there aren't as many black dads as because why should they worry when the mother could easily go to any abortion clinic and get it sorted, and it's all paid for by the taxpayer. They run no risk.
Right. So I think a few sentences ago, you talked about how if they're getting whatever they want, they're not humbled because obviously increases pride or whatever because material goods. But
Yeah.
I was like, I remember reading back then the benefits of it's called rough and tumble play, right?
Sorry, what was that? I didn't quite catch that.
Rough and tumble play.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that can if a dad or a mother plays that with their child, can technically let's say humble the child because it's also teach rules. It's you're not allowed to poke in the eye, you're not allowed to hit that hard. You understand limitations. Also,
Oh yeah.
Also when you're interacting, you're not always gonna win. So I feel you get humbled that way. Less pride. Not really.
I mean, sorry, you're gonna have to forgive me. I don't know why, but it's really hard to hear you.
Okay.
But I can get. Yeah. Sorry, I can kind of get what you mean.
Okay.
Sort of. Let's say real.
Alright. Do you wanna talk about you mentioned abortion there. Wanna move to abortion as a topic?
Yeah. Regarding that,
can you lay out your
I feel like
can you lay out your views on abortion?
Yeah. Regarding abortion stuff, I'm perfectly fine with it as a whole. The problem is that it's being used almost, how do I say this, nonchalantly, essentially, if you get what I'm saying. They're using it without care. And I say this because, if you look at the statistics, only 1% of users that go there have actually got a valid reason like rape and such. Which, don't get me wrong, they should have every right to get that child aborted because it wasn't consensual. But the problem is because it's so freelance and so nonchalant and isn't actually used for mistakes, I believe, they can essentially just keep on using these, services and essentially abusing them without any real consideration or responsibility for their own actions. Why should they even bother to buy a condom when they could just, go raw and just go to an abortion clinic and get sorted?
I mean, buying a condom is cheaper than getting an abortion, I think.
Oh, without a doubt. But again, the majority. But again, I'm using the black community because they have a good example of why I used to be pampered. But it's typically higher and it's paid for by the taxpayer.
Oh yeah.
In democracies. So really, why should they have to worry about it when they could just pop in whenever and get it all sorted? And I'm not saying this as a dig to black culture, obviously. I do believe this has been nurtured by leftist beliefs.
Well,
because in their attempt... Sorry, continue.
So, you talked about, in a case you would be fine with abortion, you were talking about if it's rape or non-consensual, then you're 100% fine with abortion. Let's say it's it's a case where a woman is abusing her power to have abortion. She wasn't with a responsible partner that chose to wear a condom and she got pregnant. In that scenario, would you think abortion is justified?
That's another thing, because that goes into another subject, which is undue fetish coming up breeding, where they full on abuse it for the pure sexual pleasure. If a woman is abusing her rights to use it, then I do think she should be exempt from it. And I know that's a hard one because I know and also certain women are allergic to latex and stuff. So what I do believe that, you know, they should be provided free morning after pills, obviously. But with something like an abortion clinic, obviously, I feel like there should be a general limit of, like, say, you can have 10 abortions over like 10 years or something, which I think is like fairly fair.
Yeah, your solution is quite interesting. I never heard it before. It's like then you can make sure
Yeah.
they're not like full on abusing it. So,
Oh yeah. Obviously, I don't want to infringe on the people who genuinely want to use it. Maybe 10 over 10 years is a stretch without that. Maybe like 10 over 5, but like this nonchalant use of it has genuinely developed a fetish for it, and just an absolute abuse of what should be considered around the world a absolute luxury. And I do think that it's because, you know, due to the culture that's been surrounding them, they've become ungrateful of the services provided, which would be damn near like fucking God sense if we were to like put one up in like a Middle Eastern country, because God knows that they're screwed over there. Let's be real. But anyway, continue. Was there another question?
yeah, sure. So, because you would consider yourself a conservative liberal, because like most like
Oh yes.
conservative liberals I met, they're always like, well, some of them, like, you know, they consider like they're like if it's like 4 month pregnancy, then they're not fine with it because it's like they feel like the baby is already not just a piece of cells anymore. Or are you like supporting abortion until like 9 months?
I mean, I'm going to support abortion of any rate, really. Like, I'm not the type to believe that the baby is alive at this point when there are that many cells. I'm simple and clear like this. If the baby is out, that is a full human. Or if the baby is fully formed, then it's nearing the 8 stages of pregnancy. So, like, if there's only like 1 month left, I consider that point like roughly the time the baby is alive, because then it would have been like something like fully matured, ready to go. And not only that, but well, it's a hard one, really, because like say what am I on about? Sorry, let me cut this down simple for you. When the baby is out, that's it. But at any point during the 9 month period, I believe abortion is fine.
Alright.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say, like, you can respond to what I'm gonna say, then you can move to another question. So it's like seems to me like it's like you're almost saying, like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it almost like seems like you're saying that geographical location is what makes life matter, or like make someone like, you know, consider life.
No. Not geographical location, but what I mean by that is, like, as a Western society, we are very well developed compared to the majority of the world, which is still very, very poor. And I think that a lot of people forget about that and tend to be ungrateful for it. Like, go to Africa, the Middle East, India. You'll see people shitting on the streets, drinking dirty water. And I think that's, you know, the leftist community. I'm going to say this, especially black people who were given stimulus checks and just grown to blame everything on racism, have actually forgotten the damn near luxuries that they're in. And I know there is, without a doubt, problems with Western society, like fucking CIA used drug and wars where they got that through, which is coke. Like, without a doubt, that's bad, but the alternative is literally going back to the third world, and after giving so much money to them, and, you know, providing all these free services and stuff, the fact that they're still ungrateful over it is a shame, really. But I also think that because we're given so much, that they're not really able to fully adapt and grow to be really proper members of society, not because of who they are, but because of the culture that's been created by the left.
Right. So, yeah, I see your point. So let's move on to if you have any views. You have discussed about this
No.
a bit, but it's like
No, that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead.
we might have like discussed about this a bit, but like, what are your views on the Black Lives Matter movement?
Okay. I'm going to say this about every damn movement that's ever existed. Never trust things on its message. Same way you don't read a header of a news article and call it a day, because they can put whatever. You gotta view a movement by its policies, its beliefs, and I can't stand behind it. I mean, look at Minneapolis, 500 million. Oh, okay, hold on, I'll wait.
You there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was waiting on you. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I was just saying the way that the movement's evolved. I mean, it's completely it doesn't matter how good of a champ your message is. If you're burning down buildings and costing to taxpayer billions, despite most of them doing nothing, then that's a problem.
Yeah. So, yeah, I like the example you gave. Like, you don't judge like the complete message of the article.
That's just about anything. Like, you never trust a person on face value.
Yeah,
like, do that with anything.
Yeah, because it's like, when they say Black Lives Matter, it's like when they ask you, do you agree Black Lives Matter? You go like, yes, but then they ask you, do you think systematic racism exists? You go like, no. So they're like, well, you don't think Black Lives Matter. Because when they say Black Lives Matter, they're actually talking about the leftist ideology that systematic racism exists. They're not actually talking about that Black Lives Matter.
Oh yeah. Without that racism exists, the problem is that they respond to it through violence. Now, understand this, I'm one for freedom of speech, right? Anyone can say whatever the hell they want. And whilst some people do say some shit like racism or paedophilia is good, it does make me want to grind my fucking teeth and punch them.
Right.
Can't do that. You can't attack people on what they believe. What you can do is attack someone based on their actions, like say they touched a child or they assaulted someone and you saw it happen in front of them and you come to the rescue, which is fine, in my opinion, especially if they're the aggravator. It's just that the problem is that they're so fixated on racism and stuff, which, don't get me wrong, it's fine and all, but you can't fight an ideology with violence, because that's not what will happen. If you try to censor it, if you try to punch any Nazis, it doesn't matter, because in the end, what happens is that you aren't actually fighting their ideology. How it works is that if you want to defeat an idea, you have to present a better idea with science, facts, and logic behind it to trump out that one. Otherwise, that idea is just going to keep on festering and growing behind closed doors where you can't see it.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you read any of those tweets, but the day like 9/11 happened, like on Twitter, people were going like, all buildings matter. Then I was like, so this is kind of like stereo, but I was like, if all buildings matter, why are you burning the buildings down then? It's like
that's a good point.
Yeah.
God, there is a lot of hypocrisy in the left. I'm just going to say that now. Like, they'll champion you on your choices as long as the choices they approve of. That's the thing, which I find funny.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's just the thing I find funny. It's just that, God. Things with Black Lives Matter stuff, obviously, yes, Black Lives Matter, but, 500 million needed to rebuild a city. sorry, but that doesn't really scream peaceful
Yeah,
to me.
it's like
Yeah,
it's like you burning down those houses or riots aren't helping
yeah,
black people. That stuff's not helping black people.
yeah. And you know what the problem is, really? The problem is that they're so fixated on what they're doing is so righteous and worthy of praise that they don't even bother to self-reflect. They don't bother to look back at all the buildings they've destroyed, all the lives that they've taken, which is 30 now, by the way, but including one black cop. But they'll say it's the right wingers infecting them. But God, it's just that there is no self-reflection in the modern day with things like Antifa, LGBT, BLM. There's no self-reflection at all because they've championed themselves on this righteous message that why should they? Why should they even look back?
Yeah, it's
And
they're virtual singling, you know,
yeah,
the hardcore.
and no matter what you try and say, they'll try and shove it onto you.
Yeah,
So
and they also try to like justify by saying it's like, they did worse with my ancestors, like my people, so I get to do this to you.
you don't know who's worse and still doing worse. The Arabics, they were enslaving Africa way before white people came down. And not only that, but remind them this: Britain ended slavery. Not just among us, but I mean, we went around to other countries. We went to Africa and stopped the slave trade empire that was founded there before we even came, because they were enslaving themselves. Do you know how long it took us Britons to finally pay off the debt? We finally stopped paying that debt back in 2005 or 2015.
That's
Over 300 years. No, 300 or 400 years, and we got nothing. We got no thank you. We just kept on being called racist.
But it's
And you know what? You want to know what's the funny thing is?
what
Slavery's come back. Slavery's come back, man.
and where.
In Africa.
Yeah,
It's happened again, man.
it's like slavery in general. It's like, also about the thing about slavery. It's like it's not a good thing to do like anything with slavery. Like if you look at history, the parts of U.S.
Oh, yeah.
that like are like really undeveloped, or even I think the part of UK that are undeveloped, like comparatively, those were the areas that they used slavery to boost their economy, and it didn't work really well. And even now, if you look at the most like underdeveloped countries, are usually the countries that allow slavery. Like I don't know, like probably in Syria, I believe, or something.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just so silly. It was even more funny. The people that tried to claim America was built upon slavery tend to forget that only 1% of householders actually own slaves. So, just saying, didn't really contribute much.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. God, there's some. My problem with this is that reflection just doesn't stem from their actions. It's a lack of appreciation of the history behind it. Like, God, I swear, most people don't know that. We didn't actually start slavery. We joined in momentarily to help build some stuff, and then we ended it. That was it. Well, unless you want to count British colonialism, which, God save the Queen.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when we're talking about history right now, and it's like when you take the left, or like I mean the radical left that just wants to say that America is bad. It's like if they talk about the good American achievements, like the moon landing, they go like, no, that's not American achievement. That's a universal achievement. But when it comes to slavery, when it comes to like anything bad, they're like, no, that's not a universal thing. That's that America is bad thing. It's because America is bad. That's why that happens.
Yeah. God, they will ignore history, and even when you bring it up, they'll try to shove it onto other people, which there's just no real appreciation for it. Yeah, they'll happily blame an entire race for their problems, which, let me just clarify, is racist.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Oh, God. It's just silly, man. The whole thing's become silly. As much as I love the message, like, just don't believe in the message, man. Anyone who says they have good intentions is probably a terrible person. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, even a fucking Stalin, when he took the guns and smoked his freedom of speech, and say, "Oh yeah, I'm a fucking dictator." No, he said, "This is for your own good. Like, this is for stopping racism and shit." That's not how it works. Like, they're never honest with you.
Yeah.
No matter what side.
Yeah, when you talk about honesty and you talk about history right now, I think Trump did a speech about like how critical race theory is being taught in school, and this theory is like the people who are like pushing it just like even admit that this is like a false view of like American history, and they just implemented this just to get people against the U.S. It's like
now, to be honest, I didn't hear about any fucking admissions on it, but I know, but without that critical race theory is bad, because this entire concept is that due to America being originally a strongly white and racist country, that blacks should get special treatment for its reparations, like in some sort of payback. Like, they should be allowed into schools easier. Like, they don't need to meet the same requirements as white kids. That kind of like that kind of bias, which is still racist, by the way. Let me clarify. Doesn't matter one way you put it, it's still fucking racist.
Yeah, it's just they're just saying I'm a minority. I should have like more rights or give me free stuff. That's
God, I hate that excuse. Yeah, I'm a minority. But one dude, I remember reading this article. One dude actually got out of prison because he claimed that paedophiles were a convicted minority, and because of that, the judge let them go.
That's just disgusting, man.
It's fucking disgusting, man. Oh, and on top of that, you seen what California did?
Oh, that's even more disgusting.
Yeah, with the whole lowering prison times for gay paedophiles rather than straight paedophiles. It's just, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it's disturbing, really disturbing shit.
Could be told, because all of that's happened, I have leaned right. And I understand I am centrist, but I align with my own political beliefs, and if one side doesn't believe in those beliefs, then I will move to the side which does. Like, hell, shit. If everyone suddenly became USSR and the only ones were the Nazis, I'd probably end up joining them.
Okay.
No, I'm joking.
Alright.
That'd be like some clown world shit.
Alright. So let's do you have any views on capitalism? Or I mean, like, what economical system do you support, if any?
Okay. With capitalism, I like the free market because it promotes competition. Competition promotes improvement. It provokes, promotes evolution, which ultimately just leads to advancements in technology and so on and so on. But even I'm not so stupid as to realise that the capitalists at the top are the worst things for capitalism, because that is a monopoly. I think that is more or less the equivalent of a planned market, which is what socialism tried doing, which doesn't work. There is no competition there. Like, if someone owned all the water via monopoly, why would they need to make water better? They could make it worse, and what would you do? Nothing, because they own all the water. Like,
you got a point.
There needs to be a free market, but the free market needs to be controlled in the sense to avoid monopolization, which is why I'm centrist with liberal and authoritarian, because I believe there needs to be like a funnel system where the more businesses you own, the higher the higher the tax. And I don't care what limit is. Like it could be 99% tax, and I wouldn't care. I would just make sure there is absolutely no monopolization within a market, because once that happens, no more evolution,
What
no more advancement.
what exactly do you mean by monopolization? Kind of confused.
Okay, have you heard of the Big 12? 12 companies that own every single brand around the world. Think of brands right now. Any brand.
All right, Apple.
Apple. That's a good brand.
Yeah.
Actually, so are they even part of the Big 12? Fuck. Okay, hold on. That's a technology one. What? Think of something more consumer based, like food.
Food. McDonald's.
McDonald's, yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. Now think about who owns McDonald's.
Probably a lot of people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, hold on. Let me grab an image. Let me grab an image quick. There's a. Oh, where was it? Where was it?
Yeah, take your time.
I'm just looking for this image. Here we go. This is a good one. This is what I mean. When capitalism reaches a point where it's no longer capitalism, it's a monopolization.
Can you post it in the DM?
Yeah, I'm going to post it now. Here it is. This is what I mean. See, capitalism is about survival of strongest. The problem is that when you get so strong and they secure they're strong, there's nothing you can do. And that's the problem right here. So many brands just owned by a few companies.
Yeah, you're right. But they're not 100% owned by them, are they though?
Mm-hmm.
So
So
it's more like socialism in that sense. It's cooperative, because they're getting the amount of money they get back from the company is amount of they're investing, or like amount of ownership they have.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. In the end, it's always going to be those Big 12 that control damn near every brand that it is, which is a problem, because that's not a free market, that is a controlled market, controlled by 12 companies.
But it's not like if they say something that other companies have to do it. Maybe they only own like 20%, so they only get 20% say. And you get what I'm saying?
Perhaps, but in the end, that doesn't matter. For me, it's the effects. Think about it like this. You buy a Kellogg, you buy a Coke or a Pepsi, but that's owned by the same brand. You want a better Coke and a Pepsi, but they don't need to do anything unless thousands of people ask for it. And even then, that's rare, because they don't need to improve, because there would be no room for competition, because they own it. They own every single one. So ultimately, there's nothing you can do. And that's what happened. And you want to know something? The only reason why those companies haven't decided to merge into one is simply because of government control. Stop absolute monopolization. If they did merge, then by God, everything would just go to one company, and the filthiest rich people in the world would just get richer. In the end, it's just there needs to be a balance between freedom and abuse, like abuse of freedom, if you get what I'm saying. And then, people should be allowed to defend themselves, and people should be allowed to do what they can on their property, but they should be allowed to do whatever they want on their property, if you get what I'm saying. Because if that was the case, then, you could have a paedophile buy a house and do whatever he wants to whoever he gets in there. Do you see what I mean here?
Yeah, to get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, these big companies have influence over almost everything on the world.
Oh yeah, and God knows how much corruption is going on with the government and these lot.
Oh yeah, because let's say they would be paying billions of more taxes, but if the government
Oh yeah.
if they couldn't bully the government, because these 12 companies literally, like,
Yeah.
can control the government.
Oh, well, control the government is a hard one, but they can certainly work with the government, which is how you get into a totalitarian nightmare. But a good example I can think of right off the top of my head is the FBI and Coca-Cola, because the FBI were partly responsible for actually putting Coke, like actual Coke, within the Coca-Cola and feeding it to black people as part of the war on drugs. Like the entire thing was just a way to generate revenue among the government and corporations.
Let's see. So we have talked about like how this is actually negative, but I think there could be a positive side. So the positive side is like many of these companies that you see in this chart probably could never been even such successful companies if these big companies like never like invested in them.
That's a good point. But also the problem with that is, whilst we do have to thank these big companies for investing in them, rather that the problem is that it's like, it's kind of like Monopoly, where it's like saying if you buy all the, oh god, what the fuck am I on about? Sorry, I'm rambling here. But let me clarify here. As nice as it is for a company to receive funding from a parent company, the problem is that it doesn't do the public any good. Like, in the end. Like, yeah, sure, it'll make its products easier, but those products can be easily manipulated for the company's good, rather than the people's good. Like, if they so much as wanted, again, they could just go right ahead and put Coke in their drink, and they could just secure, like, loyal customers thanks to abuse.
Yeah. I still haven't understood your Coke example though. If you could explain it again.
Hold on, let me try and find the link. Hold on, let me find this. Coke in Coca-Cola. Yeah, hold on. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. That's Coca-Cola. Oh, there's not much here. I'll send you a link here. I just sadly haven't checked it. It's on Wikipedia, by the way, so don't quote me on it.
Okay.
But goddamn, that was a big thing though about Coke actually containing genuine Coke.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Sorry, we've gone off track. I just realised.
Alright.
Yeah.
So we talked about capitalism. Do you have like any views on, let's say, socialism or communism or like any other form?
I don't like them. Except for, I do like the idea that some services are provided by the government as a way to say thank you to the people, that without a doubt. But the problem is that when you outright give people money for existing, which is that problem. Don't get me wrong, people. Okay, as a British person, I love the NHS. I absolutely do, but it's under struggle right now. Not because of funding and stuff, but even the head director of it has to claim that it's due to the sheer number of people, and that's due to the fact that we have open borders. That it's completely obliterating its use. I do, because of that, I am centrist because I do believe that there should be things like free healthcare for workers and abortion clinics as well. Contraceptives as well, obviously. But I do believe that there needs to be closed borders in order to maintain the usefulness of it. And again, a good example is right here in Britain. Like, we have to wait months for any kind of appointment, any kind of checkup over here due to the sheer amount of people. And on top of that, we also have a housing crisis because of it.
Oh yeah, the Britain chose
Yeah,
to not go with the EU thing.
yeah. Because open borders and all that. Our government has decided to give free housing to people that moved here because of that land's going away quick as hell. Like our average housing prices are 100,000 to $250,000, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, if you don't mind, let's talk about the EU and immigration for a moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So personally, I'm against the EU because it's like I feel like the immigration
Same. Yeah.
because like
Fucking hate them.
because like they immigrate and like they get the free services and they maybe not even paying taxes and like your taxes are going
Hmm.
going there and they're getting like all that free food and stuff. And also
Yeah.
I feel like the immigrants like some of them are just like if they come to a country like illegally or I don't know illegally but I feel like some immigrants don't like fit in the UK's or like the British culture and it's like
Yeah.
I don't know they might be more likely to commit crime. I know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Okay, let me explain this quick. Here's the thing about migration. I'm finding, and I do blame the EU for this because they force a lot of policies on this, including open borders and such. But essentially, migration needs to be controlled. If it's not controlled, you can have mass migration. Now, controlled migration allows people to properly integrate within the society they're moving to, being to learn the language, adapt to its differences, all that stuff, which is good because then you know what you're fully getting into. Mass migration, however, means that you aren't just dragging a whole bunch of people over, but you're bringing enough people over to create a microcosm of the country they were from, which doesn't fit into the culture of the country they're moving to, which can lead to conflicts. Look at Britain again. Like, we have Muslim grooming gangs just utterly just destroying the country as it is. And on top of that, in order to protect these migrants, we have hate speech laws, and as a result, anything said negative can be arrested, especially racism. And this has reached the point where the police are worried of being called racist, so they won't actually investigate these Muslim grooming gang incidents. The result of this was the Rothstein case, where over 2,000 children were sexually assaulted, beaten, sold into slavery, and even murdered. Which is a fucking travesty.
Let me when you talked about like police is getting more afraid to actually arrest people, it's like, you know, as they say,
Yeah.
the victim mentality creates actual victims. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. And they made it so that way racism isn't determined by the person who did it. Like, you know, their purpose is not taken into account really. Like, you know, their beliefs. Like, it was whoever was affected by it or what the judge says. So you could literally say something like, oh yeah, my friend's black as well. And the judge could literally look at that and say, you're racist, and you can go to jail for 10 years. 10 fucking years.
Dude, that's so insane.
Yes. Now, regarding the EU, okay, let me say this right now. The two people used to control the EU, more or less. Well, in reality, it was Germany, because they were the biggest contributor. Second was Britain. The moment Britain wanted to do Brexit, everyone panicked, because that was all their money going, and it would have been left to Germany. I'll be honest with you, damn near every other country is useless. They're leeching off us in the EU. I'm glad Brexit happened because we gained damn near nothing out of it. I mean, trade deals, bullshit. Like, just absolute bullshit. They did fuck all. Well, in light of what we had to face as a result with open borders and shit, and how much money we've given away. In the end, all that's happened is that Angela Merkel basically controls the EU. Whatever she says goes forth. Right?
Yeah.
And I could. Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. So the view is that EU is like theoretically only there to serve the powerful.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm not one for globalization. Because in the end, all it is controlling one government and making cultures mix. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm fine with people migrating. It's just that I believe culture and land should be tied together, not the race, which a lot of people get mixed up.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
because it's like it doesn't matter you're black, you're white, you're Hispanic, you're yellow. That won't
Yeah,
stop you from being British or being American, right?
yeah, exactly. The problem is that people need to respect each other's cultures, in a sense. The problem is that respect can't be achieved through mass migration because you got too many people coming in to fully integrate. You can't achieve it by having globalization because then you'll have to drag all countries, all races, all cultures to meet. I mean, which will without a doubt cause conflicts and will only benefit those at the top in the long run. I'm just saying this, man. Like, EU completely controlled by Germany. I'm just glad we got out of it. All I think is needed is stronger borders, more care for the people, in the sense that, better healthcare for them, like damn near free healthcare and shit, all that. But there also shouldn't be room for people to get lackluster. I feel like the government should take over them because they feel like they deserve it, which is what's happening in black communities right now because they feel like they deserve everything because of racism.
Yeah, it's like, my ancestor helped build
Yeah.
this hospital and shit, so like I get free healthcare. Something.
Oh yeah, I come from a black family. That's the thing.
I see.
Jamaican specifically. So, I'm not just some middle class white dude going on about it. It's just that there needs to be more appreciation for stuff. And I feel like because, as nice as it is giving more free stuff to the people, in reality it's doing more harm than good because it's not teaching them discipline or responsibility.
Yeah.
Same with higher abortion, same with stimulus, same with the end result being more broken families, and because of that, traditions can't be passed on properly, like discipline, like appreciation and such, or hard work, which is why you've got ghettos and such, more higher crime among single parents, like among their children. In the end, I just believe that among feminism, among the whole thing, people need to start embracing their more natural, desires,
Yeah, also,
in a sense, like masculinity, femininity.
right. Also, when it comes to migration again, it's like you wonder, like, I remember reading this article in the U.S. like when I believe Obama was the president, he was like saying there was this vote on like should we build a fence to keep the illegal immigrants out, and even like Obama and Hillary voted to keep them out. But now it seems like a strategy because like people who migrate from different countries are like more likely to vote for left leaning or the Democrats. So it seems like it might be a strategy to have open borders so they can always win.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Like, the world's sick of just leftist ideologues because I realise just how fucking far it's been. Look at Britain. Right, most of us hate the left, believe it or not, but because we have no better political choices, we don't really have a choice when it comes to it. So the only ones we got recently is the Heritage Party, and so far that's our best bet. It's just that really people like America because people are allowed to defend themselves and have the right to freedom of speech, which I believe, after observing different cultures and such, being like monarchies, socialism and stuff, to really get a strong good culture, it's about allowing people to have the right to express themselves, to defend themselves, and ultimately having respect between themselves, their neighbours, and the government. So, they're left to their own like wishes. If you get what I'm saying, because that's what people want. They just want freedom.
Right. So, coming back to the immigration thing, it's like, you think about feminism and you think like, let's say if a woman like abusement is going anywhere, the
Yeah.
first people to talk about it would be feminists, right? They would be the most protesting and like, but for some other reason, like even Hillary supports Saudi Arabia, and like there's like the most amount of women abusement going over there, but for some reason they're like supporting Saudi Arabia, supporting like Islam in general. It's like, it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's basically what's going on here.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. It's kind of like the same with fucking Biden supporters. Like, everyone's seen him, touching up children and shit, but they obviously don't consider paedophilia a deal breaker, because in the end it gets back at Trump. Like, they will happily vote a man who advocated for the 1994 crime bill, where he called black super predators, or the same dude who also, groped children on live TV. This dude that also had a fucking earpiece during the presidential debate that happened recently. And then there's Hillary. Hillary, 54 of my friends committed suicide roughly around the Jeffrey Epstein case, Clinton. Because, they're totally not corrupt, right?
Let's not go get into pedophilia that much.
Yeah, it's just people tend to get this. The enemy of my enemy is not my friend, but just someone who's going to stab me in the back later.
Oh yeah.
I mean, goddamn, you think these leftists care about poor, rich? Hell, most millionaires don't. Well, save for maybe Trump, considering how many jobs he's made. But it's another story.
Oh yeah. I don't want to say something like off topic, but it's like, coming back to capitalism, it's like you go like, the left goes like the rich is evil, but you go like, but all these rich people have made so many jobs. Like Bill Gates has like made so many jobs for people.
Hmm.
Right.
Again, that's the problem. It's just, I do hate them because it's monopolization and abuse of people. But again, they don't have much choice because, well, it's an easy job and stuff, and you're not going to get much jobs out in that specific field. I simply believe that there needs to be more restrictions on bigger companies and more freedom for people to start their own smaller companies. Like, I would happily take a smaller company any day over a big one, because the smaller ones will actively respond to and care for the people around them compared to bigger ones.
Okay.
If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're kind of saying like small companies are like the backbone of the economy. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah. But ultimately, if you got a wonder here, if people are getting fed and technology is being developed, is GMP really the sole focus here? Because Trump hasn't made the same GMP as fucking Obama did, but he's created way more jobs than him, so people are getting more employed. So really, what would the economy come down to here? Is it the number of people being employed, or is it just the amount of money a government has?
Yeah. So let's.
Yeah, is this a hard one? That's what